Hello, welcome back. I'm Emmett,
And I'm JJ.
and this is the Creativity Crew. Ba-ba-da-ba.
Been a while.
I don't know the intro.
We don't have an intro. We just wing it.
I have some structure, but otherwise, no.
Yeah, like most things in our life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically. So, folks listening, it's been a while.
Yeah. I think it's been like over a month.
Yeah, life got crazy.
Yeah.
So, do you want me? Obviously, we're gonna do our small talk portion, but it's gonna be more like us talking to you guys than each other because we already are aware of this going on in each other's lives. Do you want me to say it?
Well, do you want to lead up to that, or do you want to? Because there's a couple other things that happened as well. Like I went to go visit Di.
Oh,
That's why we didn't do the last one, was because it was
oh,
the
that's
weekend. That's
right.
why I'm like, it's been over a month.
I have the memory of a goldfish.
Goldfish
So
actually have decent memory.
okay, then I don't. I have the memory of a rock.
That's
Because
fair.
I have the only my memory only goes back to very recent events, so I only remembered the stuff that happened recently. I did not realize on our podcast timeline that it
The
was
last one was before the trip, yeah.
wow. Okay,
Yeah.
then yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, no.
JJ left us.
Yeah. I went to go visit my partner Di for a week. Got to hang out, ate some really good food. We had sushi twice. We had a lot of fun.
And Peggy and I mourned the whole time. No, we were fine, but Peggy was definitely. I mean, we were both going through it because like we missed you.
Yeah.
As evidenced by me being extremely chatty on my blog. Oh hi, hello. Is that a girl under the desk? Oh my goodness. What's that face for? But yeah, so that happened, and that was very fun for you guys. I'm glad you guys had that trip.
Yeah. And then I got a new job.
Uh
Mm-hmm. And now I don't have a new job.
Yeah, he got hired. Well, the job said it was a receptionist for a hair salon.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
No. And even the receptionist portion, they kept trying to steal from me.
Yeah.
But I was basically the glorified janitor for sweeping up the hair and taking out the trash, cleaning the vacuums, and
The multi-purpose person.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. So they ended up just calling him and being like, "Well, actually, we don't need you. We have someone else doing this now."
yeah. They had hired a extra hand and told me you can take the day off. I never went back after that day off. They basically just said that worked out a lot better than having you here, so we don't need you.
Yeah. I mean, according to the person who talked to you, it was the company that decided it, not
Yeah,
the direct management. But
yeah, but
still,
still.
yeah. I mean, it's still shitty in my opinion.
As soon as she told me, stay home, we don't need you, we accidentally scheduled someone new, and gave the somebody else my hours, I knew I was done for.
Yeah.
I was hoping I wasn't, but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, like all things considered, even though yes, it was a job and yes, it was money, it was like 2 days a week.
Yeah.
Not all that much to be earned. And also, they changed the price.
Yeah. They when I was asking about the job, they're like, "Oh yeah, no, it's $15 an hour." And then when I went to go fill out the paperwork, they were like, "Actually, it's $13 an hour. That's still okay, right?"
Which is false advertising,
So,
unethical.
yeah.
Yeah, so he's currently unemployed. Um, I quit my job, which anyone who's been on the blog knows I've talked ad nauseum about it at this point. But for anyone who doesn't know, basically, I hit my breaking point. I realized that, I've been at this job for about 4 years now. And for those who don't know, after school program, I was a site director, which is basically a management position. After 4 years and literally like a year, not a year, 6 months, so half a year of enduring abuse at my workplace, I just reached my breaking point. I decided, like, okay, I am not all right in this position. Like, this is very detrimental to my mental health. It's affecting my physical health. I'm not giving the kids the experience that they deserve. Because it's, affecting me so badly. And just quite frankly, like, it was just kind of like ruining my life. So what I did was I ended up talking with my boss. I told her essentially, like, I have to leave for mental health reasons. And she was very understanding. She was super understanding. And she was like, if you don't feel comfortable in front of a live audience, which is what the kids are, then you don't need to come in for the rest of the week. If you just want to, like, have your last day be tomorrow, that's fine. And that's what we end up doing. And so I documented my thoughts on the last day because someone asked me to, so that's on my blog. But basically, it was both underwhelming and overwhelming. Because it's like you kind of expect to have a bit more of a reaction, and then when you don't, it's like, oh well, I guess my 2 years being site director at that site didn't really do much. But then you also have to realize, like, kids are kids. Yeah. They literally have to be used to it at this point. And some of them, I mean, I'm not going to say they weren't upset. They were upset. Yeah. I think the one thing I'll remember the most was the group hug where I almost got killed.
Yeah. that would be pretty memorable.
Yeah. That was my first time getting choked. And, like, I think most people would tack on not in a fun way, but I don't think I like being choked either way. Like, it's not fun. And for anyone who doesn't know, it was unintentional. The kids ambushed me after I said I was leaving and that this was the last chance to get a hug, not realizing they would all come in for a group hug. And then in that mass of, people kind of like pulling me down in every which way, someone started pulling on my jacket and the collar started choking me.
Yeah.
But I lived.
Yeah.
So.
And for which we are very grateful.
Can you imagine if you got a call from the hospital and it was like,
Jesus.
Are you the housemate or are you like the housemate?
The primary contact, yeah.
Primary contact. Oh yeah, they wouldn't say housemate, whatever. Are you like the primary contact of well, they would use my legal name, but I'm not going to do that. Of Emmett. And you'd be like, yeah, what happened? Like, during a group hug, he suffered asphyxiation.
He is no more.
Asphyxiation? Is that
asphyxiation.
The one? Yeah. Wait, what's the one? Aspiration. That's the other one. That's different. But yeah, it's just like he suffered asphyxiation. We currently have him on life support. Do you want to like come by and like, what do you mean? Who choked him? It's like, well, he was in a group hug.
A bunch of kids.
Yeah. Those group hugs can be fatal, God, that would be wild. Put that on my tombstone.
Killed by hug. Death by hugs. I mean, I tell you, one of my worst fears is death by asphyxiation by laughing.
Oh.
Because when I start laughing, I can't breathe.
Ooh.
That's why
we're not going to be a good pair then. I don't want to be the end of you.
No, I have it under control.
I was going to say, I actually have, whenever I think of choking, I think of this one story that my dad told me that was passed down to him from his mom, so my Nana, where she had a professor who was going on a ski lift and was wearing a very long scarf.
Oh, no.
And she told my dad, like, he was probably like a kid at this point, told my dad in vivid detail about how the scarf got caught and this professor literally hung from the ski lift and choked to death.
Jesus.
And I was like, Thank you, Father. That will scar me for the rest of my life, and I have never worn a scarf since. Not a fan. Although I'm also not a fan because you have to like tie them a certain way, and I'm not good at that. But, yeah. Anywho, so
I just don't have the neck for them.
yeah. I mean, like, I want to wear scarves because they look nice and everything. I'm not good at putting them on. And then I need to ask someone to put them on for me like I'm a child. I don't.
Well, what I do is I just double them up so it's folded in on itself. And then I take that and tuck it through the loop.
You lost me.
I could show you someday.
Someday. Maybe I'll just get, like, the infinity ones where it's literally just you put it on.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to tie it or anything. That's not an infinity one, but you know what I'm thinking of.
No, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's basically the major stuff that's happened. We're both technically unemployed. I am focusing on freelance work while I am basically waiting until after the holidays to go looking for a part-time job. Because I feel like it's going to be pretty difficult right now, and I also feel like I need some time to just breathe.
Yeah.
And, like, get better.
I mean, you worked there for 4 years, so you've earned some time to breathe.
Yeah, which, you know, you still have to pay the bills and food and all that shit, but that's why I'm focusing on freelance work. Commission work, at least so far, has been going really good. Super grateful to everyone who's commissioned me. Shout out if anyone's listening. So, yeah, that's kind of like where we're at.
Yeah. I'm putting in applications pretty much everywhere. Following up as needed, but nothing yet. But it's also still pretty new, so I've only been looking a couple days.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That's basically it. I got a call from CDC today.
Oh?
Yeah, at first I thought it was like a scam because it was like calling from Georgia. And I'm like, why are you fucking calling me from Georgia? And then this guy comes on and he's like, hello, this is blah, blah, blah from CDC, which is, you know, government agency. And he's like, we're calling to take a survey based on like COVID-19. But he said like for children and teenagers. And he's like, something like, are you willing to do this, ma'am? And I was like, sure, but I'm a sir. And he actually said, oh, I'm sorry, sir. And I was like, that's the first time that's ever fucking happened.
Hey.
And it was very quick because he was like, do you have any children under the age of... I'm like, no. Do you live with anyone under... Nope. Okay, thank you for your time, sir. Have a good day. All right, you too. Thanks for calling me sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much been the most eventful part of my day. What have I been doing today? Wait, hold on. Brain fog. I woke up. I took Peggy out. I fed Peggy.
You did some drawing.
Oh, yeah. I drew Ruby and David.
Yeah.
And I drew the fucking cigarette run, which is going to haunt me until the end of my days, man. Now, every time I look at that art, I'm like, oh, stupid.
Hey, you've never smoked. You wouldn't know.
The thing that gets me is I literally, like, I looked up people smoking. I saw how they were holding the cigarette, and then my brain was like, but that doesn't make sense, and changed it. Because my brain was like, the part that's colored is the part that the smoke is coming out of. That should be the part that's on the end. But now when I look at it, it's like, you idiot! But yeah. How was that? Oh, and then the Imposter Logan part 2. That took up a good chunk of my day.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to take a look at it. I didn't see the first one. I hadn't gotten a chance to like actually read through it because brain fog.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping to take a look at this one and see where it's going.
I will say horror warning for this one.
Oh no, I can appreciate.
Yeah, we're having fun. Charlie isn't, but we're having fun.
We love it when Charlie is not having fun.
Charlie's never having fun. If Charlie's having fun, that means I'm doing something wrong.
Meanwhile, today I got one adopt done.
Can we talk about the adopts real quick?
Oh, yeah, sure.
JJ made a bunch of wonderful adopts. Well, not a bunch. You've made like 3 so far?
I think I've made 4. I just posted the 4th one.
And I've just grabbed all the sexy redheads.
I specifically made this new character not a redhead on purpose.
Well, that might not help.
But yeah, so far I've done 2 that Emmett has snatched up. And then the one I just posted, the Asker, who's on a non, so I'm operating on honor system here. I just posted that has 24 hours to claim before she's up for grabs, and then one more that I had done that was actually Emmett's request with emojis, who's a very worried looking satyr girl.
Yeah. In a very pretty dress.
Yeah.
Which has infected my mind.
Mm-hmm.
For different reasons.
So.
I'm interested to know, like, when you create your adopts, do you always come up with a gender for them, or are you just kind of like...
Well, to be fair, like, with my assets, a lot of the time I'll think, oh, I really want to do, like, this body type, or this body type. So it's not necessarily gender, it's more so just presentation. Okay. And then at the end, I'll do pronouns within the thing. But since they're adopts, I don't really put too much on there. Okay. Like, for the 2 you adopted, the first one uses she, her pronouns in the thing, but she could have been any pronouns. Yeah. Or the other one, the dude you adopted, I thought was and tried to present him as very flamboyantly masculine. Mm-hmm. 1 second. Talking too much.
Break?
No, we're good. But flamboyantly masculine, so he was giving very he, him pronouns. Versus the one that is still up for grabs, the one in the blue dress.
No, keep going.
Okay. He's giving me devious look.
No, I had a thought, but
okay.
Keep talking.
But I put in their description they them pronouns because I couldn't really tell whether they were masculine or feminine.
That's fair. More androgynous.
Yeah.
I just I've been doing bad things with the guy that I adopted. And I hate to say it because, like, it doesn't change his presentation. He's still flamboyant. He's still, like, that flamboyant masculine type. Mm-hmm. But he ended up being Southern in my mind.
No, that's 100% what I was going for.
Oh my god.
I was thinking very, like, if Jackson was flamboyant.
That makes me, first of all, so happy, but second of all, so worried that someone's going to confront me and be like, you're going into the stereotypes about Southern people.
Look, no, he has those vibes.
I cannot describe to you how when I was drawing them, when I was drawing him, I heard him in my head calling Denise his cousin, and then as I was drawing it, I was like, but what if it was brother? Mm. And then my brain was like, but we want him to be an intimate whumper, and I was like, well. Why not both?
Yeah, no, a lot of the time, for some reason, whenever I draw long-haired redheads, they always turn out Southern to me.
Rupert, too.
Yeah.
But did I make Rupert Southern, or did you make Rupert Southern?
I think it was a combination. Okay. I think it mostly manifested because he was partly inspired by a fusion of, hear me out, Jackson and David. So it's like if David were Southern.
Oh, no.
And that's how Rupert turned out. Because originally he wasn't going to be, because if you remember, his OG voice claim is the Click.
Oh, yeah. You want him to be Swedish.
I wanted him to be, yeah.
Oh, bro.
However, once he became a fictive, he was like, no. Southern homeboy.
Did we say he was like Texan or something?
I can't see him being quite Texan, but definitely southern area.
Okay. I also don't know the individual southern regions, so sorry, southern people listening. But yeah, that's so funny that you say that. Like, he's just so southern to me. I'm like, I can't. I don't know.
It's because I put that subconsciously in your mind. Ah, yes, long-haired redhead.
And like, but not only that, just like the shape of his face, and just like when I was drawing him, like the vibe he was giving. I feel like I lean towards more scruffy people being southern, and that's my own bias. I get it, but in my defense, he's also flamboyant, so
Yeah.
he's like a Brokeback Mountain southern. I've never seen the movie, but I can make the joke.
Yeah.
So, speaking of characters.
Yes. What a segue.
Yeah, take it away, JJ.
Yeah. So, since last episode, Emmett kind of led the episode a little bit. We wanted to mix it up where I'm leading it a little bit, and I kind of wanted to do one where it's basically character inspirations. So it's those OG Blorbos we have that kind of have their through line between tropes making their way into things we do in our writing, or for in Emmett's case, like the media that inspires certain OCs.
Yeah, because I don't focus too much on tropes. If you asked me like my favorite tropes, I would just my mind would go blank. But definitely, like JJ said, what inspires not just our characters, but like what we do with those characters, like their storylines.
Yeah.
Which, there's got to be some fucked up shit because I'm looking at my current storylines. Sometimes I wonder. I look back and I'm like, what inspired this? Because I don't know. I didn't think I consumed that much fucked up media when I was younger.
Oh, I know I consumed that much fucked up media when I was a kid.
But it's like, I think what it was not necessarily. Some of them, the canon material, absolutely. There's been some. I mean, because I've always been a Wump enjoyer, there's definitely been some canon stuff that. There is this. Oh my god! Like, okay. When people talk about Wumperflies, I always think about, I have these specific scenes that are just so vivid in my head. This one scene, a movie that I don't know if we can, I don't know if you can watch it and be comfortable, but it's a movie called Paprika. And it's this movie where it's very like unreality, where they have the ability to travel in between dreams, and then like various realities. It's really cool. I think it's partly what inspired the Reality Jumpers AU, but there's this one scene that has stuck with me ever since, and I know this is a tangent, but trigger warning for body horror and intimate wump stuff. She's on a table. She's just been caught by like the bad guy, the main wumper, and he's got her pinned down like he's about to dissect her. And what he ends up doing instead is like he starts like touching her, and it seems like it's going in a sexual route, but then his hand literally goes through her skin, and you can see his hand moving like under her skin in her body. It's the best thing ever. Like when I was watching that, and I watched it with my parents, we were all in the back room in front of the small TV in the dark watching that scene, and I was like, this is gonna change me. Like it was so fucking cool. But yeah, so basically I've seen fucked up shit, but I think most of the fucked up stuff I've consumed has been fan material. I think a lot of fanfics in particular really did it for me.
Yeah, no, I know I've read some really fucked up fan fiction. Mostly, okay, outing myself a little bit, but most of the fucked up fan fiction I've read was for 3 fandoms specifically. Tupi Hitalia.
That doesn't surprise me.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Mm-hmm.
And Darkiplier and Antisepticeye. Sometimes the crossover between FNAF and Darkiplier. There is so much fucked up shit on Quotev when I was like 12.
So leaning into that, I've consumed a lot of fanfic for a lot of different fandoms. And I say fandoms, but I've always been a guy where I get attached to a specific character. I ship that character with another character.
Mm-hmm.
Then I ship them with all the characters.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, you know, it's a combination of that shipping and also that wump.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of the wumpiest fandoms that I've ever read fanfics for is, and I know, you know, I know it's canceled, but Harry Potter, because I'm Malfoy stand here, and Dragon Age 2, because I fucking loved Fenris, best Wumpy in that series, and Yu-Gi-Oh, the original classic series, because I latched onto Bakura with a vengeance. He was my Wumpy Wumper character. But yeah, so I get that.
What was I saying? No, legitimately, I forget what I was saying.
You told them the prompt for today.
Yes.
We're going to talk about.
Okay.
Before I just completely ran with it.
But yeah, so for today we're thinking I'd talk about a couple of my OG Blorbos that I've had from when I was like young to teenage that still stay with me, and you'll see a lot of inspiration from it throughout all of my writing or all of my characters. In particular, the ones I have written down specifically relate to Berkeley and Dazel, but I relate to like multiple others. Yes, you do.
And I will listen.
Okay.
I will listen as you share.
So, the first ones to like inspire me, and so when I say I've been watching fucked up shit since I was a kid, I mean I have been watching Batman Beyond since I was 8. Batman and Superman, and yes, I know it's a cop-out. I was supposed to do one, but I doing both. But Batman and Superman, are like the OG Wumpies for me. Not only are they a special interest, separately and together, going back to that shipping fanfic. Yes. But they inspire so much like Wump dynamics. I mean, just there's an episode in Justice League where Darkseid comes into the tower and tells them he's being attacked by Brainiac, and Superman immediately starts attacking him because he has been wumped by Darkseid, basically.
Oh, yeah.
He basically, like, captured him, tortured him, and, like, brainwashed him, and then let him loose.
Right. This bitch.
Yeah, that bitch. And so Batman is the one, he fucking grabs Superman. Batman, who has no powers, grabs Superman and is like,
baby, calm down.
Yes, pretty much. He's like, we have to do this. Like, we can't just let him die. We can't let a whole fucking planet die just because you have bad blood with this person. And Superman's like, you don't understand, but fine. So he and some of the others goes off to go help Darkseid reluctantly defeat Brainiac. Meanwhile, Batman and Wonder Woman go off to not Apocalypse, but the other one, New Genesis, to kind of figure out what's the ulterior motive, what's going on that Darkseid isn't telling them. And what basically ends up happening is when he comes back, they find out Darkseid and Brainiac had made a deal where Darkseid gives him Superman and he lets Apocalypse go. So he's basically trading Superman for the world.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So, but what Brainiac didn't count on is that Darkseid basically infects his computer and like takes over his mainframe to make him submissive is not the right word, but subservient to Darkseid. And there's a moment when Batman gets back where like the entire place is there's a bunch of fighting, bunch of choreography, blah blah blah. Lots of wump. Superman gets free. And he starts punching the shit out of Darkseid while everything is starting to blow up. And Batman and Wonder Woman and Martian Manhunter are all trying to get everyone to like the exit to the ship, and they go off. And Batman's almost on the ship and then realizes that Superman isn't there.
Like, God damn it!
No, literally, he's like, damn it, Clark. And then he goes to where he is with Darkseid. He's getting in between these two infinitely powerful creatures. Grabs Superman, and Superman's like, no, let me go. And he just pulls him through a boom tube. And all he gets is a you don't know what the fuck you just did, and Superman and Batman's like, no, nothing could have survived that explosion, not even Darkseid. He's wrong, but
he had to save the bay.
He had to save the bay. It's like, you're being stupid, shut up. So you can see a lot of that dynamic within a lot of my own OC ships. Like, even like oddly enough, Jaden Phoenix.
I was going to say, Jaden Phoenix is the one that struck me first.
Yeah, very much that temperamental, but intensely protective. And then that quiet, observant type that kind of has that tragic backstory.
And not to mention, maybe self-sacrificing isn't the right word, but willing to get hurt for the sake of helping the other. Yeah.
And I mean, even in Dazel and Mibium, there's that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would definitely, I could relate to that with like Logan and Derek.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's
both of them. They're both idiots.
I mean, there's an episode, and I'm sorry, I'm mostly just rambling on about these two because I fucking adore these two.
Yeah.
But specifically relating to Dazel and Mibium, when Dazel's gone and Mibium has to like go searching for him, there's an episode in also, again, Justice League where Superman quote unquote dies.
Right.
And Batman is the only one. He does not believe it. He's like going over the evidence, and he is determined to find a way to prove that he's not dead. Yeah. The only time he comes close to doubt is when he goes to the like Superman's grave, like the memorial, and he's like, I'm starting to think maybe you aren't coming back.
Aww.
And then something goes off in the distance, and he's like, what was that you always said, Clark? The never-ending battle? And that's the other thing I love about these two, is they have that connection where Batman doesn't call him Superman. He recognizes that Superman is the alter ego. Clark is the person. And so when he's referring to Superman when they're alone, it's Clark.
That's really sweet. I feel like that's something you have with a specific relationship in your characters, but I don't know.
Well, Mibium and Dazel, they have that dazzle, that daze. That's almost never get, and Mib, it's like that level of familiarity, that level of comfortability.
That's what I was thinking of. Oh, that's sweet.
So that's one of my like OGs. Like you will find aspects of those two and that dynamic within literally like everything I write.
Can I just say, coming from someone who more so grew up on like anime and stuff, like I did watch like kids cartoons and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. But I find it very impressive in like a genuine way that you were able to latch on to these very I don't want to say hyper masculine, but traditionally masculine characters as like your main One Piece. I've never really been able to do that. I always lean more towards, yes, I lean towards males, but I lean towards ones with more feminine natures.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I always have.
I actually really like the idea of like that hyper masculine One Piece where they're very like big and stoic and defiant, and then having that like breakdown and breaking down of that masculinity, of that identity of themselves. Like I always found that fascinating.
I think it also, I mean, I know for me, it relates into personal gender identity because even though I do love that, like these hyper masculine, I love stoic wumpies, like Derek, for example, but I've always been able to connect more to the feminine ones because I am not a hyper masculine person. I'm a very feminine person. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah. Especially now that you mention it, because I am a very masculine guy.
Yeah.
Like I relate to that hyper masculinity where I mean kind of an inside joke in the superhero. Oh, she's sleeping?
Yeah.
Oh.
She was.
But it's kind of a like inside joke within DC where it's like these flamboyant men running around in spandex. Like it's an inside joke that they are hyper masculine, but they are flamboyant. They're very much. So it kind of carries that element of it where it's like they're very sure of their identity and sexuality in what they're doing. Batman in particular like is solid about his identity even if some of it is more ambiguous. And I actually believe part of that comes from the voice actor himself. For a lot of Batman stuff, Kevin Conroy, may he rest in peace, was gay. And he put a lot of his self into portraying that character and that self in Batman.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I feel like characters like that, like you know, very masculine characters, and like just the superhero genre in general. If there wasn't that, you know, homophobia, I feel like it would be infinitely more interesting. Especially, you know, if you delve into those very strong relationships among those men, it's like if you could just stop fucking pairing fucking Batman with Catwoman and Superman with whoever the fuck, like just.
That's the thing. Like Superman is only ever with Lois Lane. Batman can be with like 15 different women at one time, and it's like, no, like literally look at the dynamic between Superman and Batman and tell me they aren't fucking.
Yeah, like, and I had the perspective. I had a very close friend who shipped Superman, not Superman, Batman and the Joker. So I've seen they used to talk all the time about like the comics in particular. I've seen a lot of, you know, stuff about that and like source material, and it's like it just infuriates me how we have these, you know, constant hetero relationships being forced on these characters. And yeah, I'm gonna say forced on these characters. Some of them work. I'm not saying all of them don't. But you can tell when it's literally just, well, we need this guy to have a woman so that way he cannot be construed as gay. That's what I hate. It takes so much out of the character, and it's not fair to the female character at all. She's just being used as, you know, a romance point.
I will say one of the ones with Batman that I actually really did enjoy as someone who does like Superman and Batman as a ship in the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, there was kind of a hinted on and off will they won't they ship of Batman and Wonder Woman, which I actually really enjoyed.
I could get with that. Like
it was well done.
Yeah. For context to anyone listening, I'm not a DC person. Everything that JJ is saying, I'm saying like, oh yeah, because he's like told me this before. But like, you know, with like Batman and Wonder Woman, I could see that. I don't understand the people that try to pair Wonder Woman with Superman because it's like,
yeah,
they feel like siblings.
Yeah, like even within the show, like, and what the media I've seen, like they feel more like familial rather than shipping.
Yeah, like I'm going a whole other tangent about this.
Yeah,
the superhero
whole
genre.
other tangent. But so I will pass the tennis ball to you if you would like to pop off for a little bit, because I've been talking for a while and I still have 2 more that I wanted to talk about.
Okay, well, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, I would say in terms of like maybe trope inspirations. Oh my god, no, I'm so bad with trope stuff. The first thing that comes to mind when I think of character inspirations is obviously I've talked about this before. Tom Lucitor from Star Wars: Force of Evil, and like I've said before that, you know, he's literally Logan. Like he is what Logan came from. Because what happened was, you know, I first of all love the show up to a point. I didn't really like the direction they took it in, but at the same time, I'm a pretty flexible fan where even if a show's going direction I'm not super happy with, I'm like, well, I still appreciate what I watched, and I appreciate the characters for what they are. But I really like the show. A lot of wump in it, shockingly.
Oh, that does not surprise me.
Yeah.
You look at a lot of these like animated shows, there is so much fucking wump. That's why I'm like, look at the animated Justice League. Look at the animated Batman, or like older animated shows, or even stuff like Steven Universe.
I was gonna say, yeah.
So fucking much wump.
I feel like it's really cool to see how it's both changed and stayed the same over time. Because I go back to kid shows from my childhood when, you know, I was born in 1997. I go back to kid shows like Shaolin Showdown, which, you know, are a more niche one. I don't think as many people know of it. Shaolin Showdown was so wumpy, and it was just like unabashedly wumpy. Jack Spicer, I don't know if you've heard of him.
I recognize the name, but I don't know specifics.
I'm going to tie this into Logan, because Jack Spicer has always been, he was like one of my first favorite villains, because he was comic relief. He was, you know, he was like, shit. He had a tagline.
Can we pause for just a second?
Oh yeah, sure. There we go. And we're back. Okay, so yeah, I was saying about Jack Spicer. He's basically like, he was supposed to be a boy genius, right? So we can already see Logan. But also he was just like not taken seriously at all. Like he's, you know, this genius who comes up with like all these really cool inventions, and he's trying so hard to be evil, but he's just not. So immediately I can already see a lot of Logan and him there. I loved him so much. He was like my favorite Wumpy. He was funny. He was cute. Like like so many moments where he gets so close to actually beating the protagonist, and then something happens to just fuck it all up, or it even just ends up being his own like consciousness that like kicks in. He's like, well, I can't be that evil. Like it's just so good. And then he has this, you know, this other messed up relationship with another Wumper named Chase. But anyway, it's great. So basically, what was I saying? Oh yeah, like I love to see how kids shows have kind of embraced want more in certain ways. Like just been a bit more like, I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like there's more self-awareness these days.
Yeah.
I feel like the crew of Steven Universe knew what they were doing.
Yeah. Well, it also might have been, especially in the younger, like the older shows, it could have been a fact that a lot of TV stations would not show death on screen. Like I mentioned to you, with the old school Batman the Animated Series.
Oh, I forgot you're the fan of. I'm sorry.
With the Batman the Animated Series, they were not allowed to show death on screen. And so they had to find workarounds of things worse than death.
Yeah.
Or because when you're not allowed to show like death or things like that happening, like you have to find those workarounds, and that can lead to so much darker situations.
Yeah, and I really think that there's been more of a focus on psychological and like trauma when it comes to like Wump in kids cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
Like more, especially generational trauma has been a huge focus.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I love that they're leaning into that more, because you know that's my favorite. But anyways, getting back to my point, what was my point? Oh yeah, like Tom, I just fell in love with Tom instantly. Tom is this very unlikable character who, when you first meet him, he gives off this like kind of like charming persona. He's just infatuated with Star, and he's trying to get Star back together with him.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, Star has a thing for Marco, and blah blah. I just like, he's such an asshole, and like you can immediately tell he's like he's almost like a nice guy. Mm-hmm. Which, you know, it should have turned me off from the character, especially considering my own experiences. But at the same time, when I was reading Homestuck, Airden was my favorite character. So I have a type. The thing with Tom, though, is like he actually does end up getting a good quote unquote redemption arc, which is basically like him working out his anger issues and stuff like that. There is this deliciously Wumpy episode where you know, he's like the Wumpy, mm-hmm. and basically what he does is he decides that he's going to get, because Tom's a demon, mm-hmm. so he has all these demons in him, and he decides that he's going to get them exorcised so that way he can be back with Star, because then he won't have all this anger. Mm-hmm. So he's basically trying to find like a quick fix. Mm-hmm. But you know, there's still like the commitment to like it gets to a point where like there's all these people in like robes, mm-hmm. and because of the kids show, they're playing it off in a very humorous way, mm-hmm. which I feel is also where a lot of like my humor comes from when it comes to Wump. But they're playing off in a humorous way where Tom's just like, whoa, like, wow, what's with the whole ceremony, guys? And he's like, whoa, what's with the shackles? Like, what's going on here? Like, and then he's like getting progressively more and more nervous. Mm-hmm. And then it gets to a point where he's like shackled to this like cross thing. Mm-hmm. And there's all these like people in robes surrounding him. And this guy, like, he takes like some, paint, they can't do blood, mm-hmm. and like draws a sigil on him. And he starts reciting Latin. And Tom's like, okay, like, I don't know, I'm having second thoughts. And then his eyes just start glowing. And he starts like raising up while he's shackled. And like an actual exorcism. Mm-hmm. It's so fucking cool. And I think that was the episode where I'm like, I want this man to be hurt. So like, he's my Wumpy now. I need him to be hurt. So what that ended up progressing to was, you know, for anyone who knows me, intimate Wumpers are my favorite, hands down. Is that Peggy?
Yes, that's Peggy.
Oh, yes. She's still licking herself. My intimate Wump, you know, whenever I find a favorite character, a favorite Wumpy, I need them to have an intimate Wumper. It's a problem, I know, we don't talk about it. So
it's only a problem if you make it a problem.
I make it everyone's problem, really. I mean, you can
and we love you.
You can block the tags if you want, but so like the problem was, this is a fucking kid show. Mm-hmm. Like, they're not gonna give him a toxic boyfriend. So I had to give him a toxic boyfriend. So what I did was, one of the main villains on the show is named Toffee. Mm. Now, Toffee is like a lizard, right? Like an anthropomorphic lizard. I'm not more so into the furry side of things, so I was like, okay, well, I need him to be a bit more human. And I latched on to Toffee in particular because Toffee is a manipulator. Toffee has that suave, charming demeanor, which, as you all know, I love in my Wumpers, especially my intimate Wumpers. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna pair them up. I mean, listen, we're not gonna talk about the age thing. Tom's 2,000 something years old. I don't care. This was gonna be my own thing. So what I started doing was I started writing this fanfic for them called Sweet Like Me. And you know this, and everyone who's seen me talk about it knows this. This fanfic got up to 365 pages long. I shit you not. It was gonna be a whole novel. It basically is. So in the fanfic, it took place in the Star versus Forces of Evil universe. It was aged up, obviously. So Tom was an adult. Toffee was a adult presenting as a human, even though that wasn't entirely the case. I think what it was like he had been reincarnated after he'd been killed, and he ended up remembering those memories from his past life when he was evil. And so there was this really cool, like, I know I'm rambling, but listen to me.
No, you're fine. I'm listening. Just Peggy's throwing a temper tantrum.
Oh, okay. Everyone listening, listen to me. There was this really cool internal conflict going on because, quote unquote, good Toffee was like, no, I genuinely like Tom. Like, I want to be his partner. I want to be good for him. And then evil Toffee was like, no, we're going to use him. He's royalty. Like, we can, use him to our advantage so that way we can get back at Star because he's Star's friend and everything. So it was like this really cool, like, internal conflict there with, like, Toffee basically manipulating Tom, but also not wanting to. And there was going to be this like super grand finale and everything. I'm not going to get into it, but basically that is where Logan and Derek started. I've never gone super into it, but that is where they started. Because while I was writing that fic, I then had the thought of, what if this was a mob setting? Because that's my thing is, the any sort of mob AU or any mob universe, which kind of it goes into the second inspiration for Logan, actually came after the fact. But it was Ash from Banana Fish, which I fucking love. Banana Fish, cannot recommend it enough. I read the manga first, and then I watched the anime. And, I was emotionally devastated either way. But Ash definitely had a lot of inspiration for me because Ash was kind of like a Wumper and a Wumpy. He was like, prostituted as a child. He was like kind of, this very like emotionally repressed character where he acts like, he's in control of everything. You good?
Just wasn't sure if I was hearing something.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so that definitely fed into Logan a lot, and also they're both blonde. But yeah, so like that was definitely a big inspiration for Logan and also Derek, because once I put them in that mob world, it was literally like I was writing them and I was like, you know what? These don't really feel like the original characters anymore. What if I just change their names? And so Tom became Logan. I'm honest, I'm gonna be real. I don't know why. I don't know where that name came from. And Toffee became Derek, which I also don't know where it came from. It's possible that it was inspired by Captive Prince. I don't remember if I read Captive Prince before or after.
Because I know that's another huge inspiration for you.
Oh, my favorite book series. My favorite book series ever. I could go on, but yeah, Captive Prince, 100% huge inspiration. But yeah, so I mean that was their inspiration. And then once they started writing the mob story, which I've told you started off very fucked up.
Yeah.
Derek was not a good guy. Ow, Peggy, you stepped on my foot.
Peggy.
With your claws. No,
you
can't eat that. But yeah, I
Oh.
sniffing the mic. Dog ASMR. I've talked enough about that. That's one of,
You can't have that.
one of my inspirations.
No.
It's
No.
in the garbage now because of you.
Don't you think about it.
Peggy was trying to eat JJ's list of characters to talk about.
Yeah. She likes paper.
She likes everything she's not supposed to eat.
Yeah.
She is undiagnosed pica. I think.
But yeah. Oh.
I'm handing you the baton.
Oh, I was gonna actually relate it back to you because, funnily enough, I also have one of those, like, the unlikable Wumpy that you see them and you're like, oh, I want you to be hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically, it's also from a book series. I didn't have him on the list, but he is one that I did want to mention, like, because
I know who you're gonna say.
you probably do. I talk about him a lot. But he's one that does have an influence on my writing, but perhaps not as much of an influence as some of the others I had listed. But Hort.
I knew it!
From the School for Good and Evil series. Also Rafal, but we're not here to talk about Rafal. Rafal is a whole other thing, but not really, but also yes. Rafal and Hort from that book series are such also like OG Wumpy Blorbos. Like, and don't get me started. Rafal is a Wumpy. Yes, he's a Wumper, but he's a care Wumper, and also he's a fucking Wumpy.
He's a care Wumpery.
Yes, he fits all the roles. And Hort in particular is very much that like his introduction is like him creeping on a girl. Like, and I know that makes me seem a little weird.
I get that.
But like his introduction is falling face first into the mud, looking up at a gorgeous girl that society has told him he is too much a piece of shit to deserve, and wanting to devote himself at her beck and call, the dirt to be walked upon by her. And he's like, can I touch your hair?
At least you didn't ask to touch your tits.
No.
He's got more class.
No, that's in the later books. But no, he is such a fucking, to quote the books, he's a fucking weasel. He is this scrawny nothing who gets bullied for being like the scrawny, lanky nothing who's obsessed with Sophie. And he's so cool.
Listen, I was never a Potterhead. I always liked the series very casually. In fact, much like my relationship with Marvel, I only liked this series for one character, and that was Draco Malfoy, and that's exactly my relationship with him. He was a fucking weasel that I wanted to just soak in water so he was wet and pathetic, and I was... the amount of times I would binge just Malfoy Wumpfics. Oh my god.
I have not found any really good Hort Wumpfics. I one of these days I will cave and I will either write a Hort Wumpfic or a Rafal Wumpfic or both, because honestly I feel like they'd get along, but also not, as long as Sophie isn't in the picture. But yeah, no, I fucking love those two characters. Like, Hort is very much that epitome of like self-sacrifice and devotion at his own expense.
Yeah.
But he's also very much that, the one I'd compare him most to is Ian. He's very much that like honed weapon. Like, he's been told he's nothing without his abilities. He's nothing without what he's able to provide. And he has that backed up. And so when he loses his chance to provide, he sees himself as worthless. his worth comes to him from those around him, and he has to go through this journey to realize that he gives himself worth. And he's also very morally gray.
Yeah.
In the books, like, it's the school for good and evil. He is a villain. He is one of the better villains, but he is still very much an evil villain.
Yeah.
His dad was one of the crew from Captain Hook's pirate ship. Like, that's his whole thing. But his dad was an honorable man, and he adored his dad, who was killed by Peter Pan, and so he's swore revenge. Like, he is an honorable dude, as much as the books shit on him. But he's so much fun. And then I could rant for like 3 hours about how much I love Rafal. And the both schoolmasters from the series. They're like so fucking cool. If anyone out there, if I can convince anyone to read one book series, it would be The School for Good and Evil. There is so much wump. There is so much fucking wump in that series that is rated as a kid's series. Please do yourself a favor and read it. Please. It's so good.
And that is going to be our secret word for the day, is read The School... What is it?
The School for Good and Evil.
Yeah, read The School for Good and Evil. If you comment that, you will get a free doodle from me, because I'll know that you've made it to this point. Okay. Did you want to go over your other two?
Yeah. The other two I'll briefly touch on, because I don't have as much for them. But one of the other ones I had mentioned and like written down was Stein from Soul Eater.
I was so disappointed I could not finish that anime.
Oh.
We actually, so we watched it in anime club because we were dorks and we had an anime club. And then I was like, oh well, I want to like finish watching it on my own, and we got to I forget what it was called. It starts with a K. It was a specific arc. And you know, I would probably be able to handle it just fine, but at the time my tolerances were a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I got to an episode where I just remember it was this like creature that had like a lot of different eyes, and it was getting like really like creepy. And I was just like, not a fan, and I just never finished the anime.
Yeah, no. If ever you want to watch that, I am 100% down to watch that. That is one of my comfort shows. When I need to rewatch something, that is one of my go-tos. I fucking love that show.
Yeah.
But Stein in particular, again, one of my OG Blorbos. Like, I cosplayed as him for my 13th birthday.
Yeah.
And he wasn't new to my life then. So like he's been a Blorbo for a long time.
Do you want to guess my Blorbo from that show?
100% is Jet the Kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, he was also one of my Blorbos as well. So
him.
I absolutely adore
me
him.
and my fucking, at that point in time, undiagnosed OCD ass could relate. Yeah.
For me, Stein is very much a comfort character and one that I relate to. For many reasons.
Didn't he have like a hate relationship with Medusa?
Yes, a lot of people ship him with Medusa. I'm not a fan of it. I like it as in that toxic relationship and like being that intimate.
Yeah, because I was like, was that canon?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That was canon.
Okay.
Because there's a whole thing. I don't know. If you stopped at Ashura, you would not have gotten to this. But there's an episode where Stein is basically being infected with this insanity, where his craziness is going off the charts. His already like barely managing hold on his own craziness is slipping. His grip on reality is slipping. So trigger warning for unreality and that kind of thing. But what ends up happening is he gets trapped in this mindscape where he's trying to get to his lab, but he's being blocked and being told, like, you can't be here, you can't be here. And on one hand, a smaller, like a kid version of him is trying to guide him, along with Kid Medusa is trying to get him, like, eat the fruit, eat the apple. I'm tempting you with the truth. You know you want this. You know you want me.
Whoa.
But he ends up, like, it's my favorite episode. So I could go on and on about it, but I'm trying very vaguely not to, like, give too many spoilers because I think you'd really enjoy it. But it essentially ends up with him unknowingly running away and, like, going off to live with Medusa, where she isn't mind controlling him, he's just focused. She has him in this mindscape where he can't come out of, and is basically like a mindless zombie. Just she's directing him, she's manipulating him,
She's puppeting him,
literally, and it's so fucked up. And there's a scene where he sneaks into where he's not supposed to be, to his lab, and he watches as the person I do ship him with, Marie, is standing on the roof, and she's like, "You left," and jumps off the fucking roof in front of him. And he runs to go to her, only to be caught by Spirit, who then grabs him and then, like, puts him on his own dissection table, and it's like, you went where you weren't supposed to go. I'm gonna have to fix you. And it, like, zooms in on his terrified face.
Let's go.
Like I said, it's one of my favorite fucking episodes.
Damn.
But he is actually a huge inspiration for Berkeley in particular. Also, I want to say for not quite Dazel, but, like, that self-sacrifice, like, fending off that craziness, for lack of better phrasing, that chaos. Like, I have that chaotic nature that I am prone to, but the people around me make me want to be better. So that kind of theme is very much written within a lot of my stuff. Ian as well. So he very heavily influences my work, and he's absolutely where my love of Labwump comes from. And the last one I'll touch on briefly, because, again, not, like, a huge thing, but taking a bit of a step back and going into child's cartoons, Stitch from Lilo and Stitch is a huge influence on my writing and my characters, especially because he was a huge influence on me, but specifically in that, like, self-sacrifice and that found family.
You know, you have to now make a meme where it's Nibium holding up the drawing that says, "This is your evil level." And it's with Dazel.
Yes. God, that's so perfect. Ohana means family. Family means no one gets left behind or forgotten. But yeah, no, it's such a huge influence between, like, familial vibes, that alien chaotic vibe, and just also Jumba and Pleakley are the original OTP.
Oh yeah.
Just fun JJ lore, like,
they're
OGs.
They're such fun, like, for background characters, they actually, like, carry part of the movie. They're
100%. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's about as much as I had for Stitch. Just, like, in particular, he influences, like, Dazel, Jane. Jane heavily in particular. But yeah.
Yee, hell yeah. Okay, well, not talking about kids' cartoons. Um, I've been talking about like inspirations for Logan, which I made like a whole meme with his various inspirations. But in terms of Dirk and like inspirations for him, we were just talking about this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest inspirations for him was Darkiplier, which is one of Mark's egos. Um, but specifically how like I depicted him. I mean, I didn't go too far from the canon material, but the way that I depicted Dark was very much this like kind of like a mixture of masculine and feminine, which is how Dirk started off as, but a focus on the manipulator, the very charming, always knows what to say, always knows how to win someone over, very good at placating, convincing, and that's what that's what fed a lot into Dirk's character, because Dirk started off as Darkworth, and Darkworth was just a manipulator, and in service to Yadet, which, going back to what you said about Hort, reminded me of those two because of that utter devotion. Which, like, I have to wonder what the inspiration for that was, because I just know at one point I was like, I made the ref for Darkworth, I posted him, I was sharing him with people, and then of course Teddy was created by the fucking Teddygram antics.
Yeah.
Which, for anyone who doesn't know, deep Emmett lore. Back on my Darkworth blog, for some reason I just posted a picture. I was holding up a Teddygram to the camera, and I was acting like it was a god. I just did this.
And people fed into it.
Right. I just did it for shits and giggles, but then everyone was sending me asks, like, talking to this god. And so I just kept, more and more, just posting pictures with the captions, some funny, some just, like, threats. And then I was like, okay, well, I have this Darkworth character, and now I have this fucking god out of nowhere. Like, what if he was just absolutely devoted to this abusive piece of crap based on a real person in my life? And then I went from there. But Darkfire definitely had a lot of influence on him. And then I feel like as Dirk developed more and more, I feel like he definitely had a lot more feminine influences. And I wanted to take his character in a different direction, because originally he was like, it's kind of wild how much he's like changed, because originally he was this like suave, manipulator, and then when I started role playing with him, he became a dork. Where like,
God, Daisel had the same exact thing happen.
Yeah. So he becomes a dork, and then I end up, when I started shipping him with another person's OC, and that became like one of his defining character traits. Our shit posts fed into his character, and he became a more like feral, impulsive, kind of an idiot. Like, I hate to say it, but and then I think over time, as I realized what his gender identity was. I realized how he wanted to present himself. I really focused more so on his relationship with Teddy, and how how he had to put on that persona, how he didn't really have a real identity of his own. And I'm sure there's been stuff that's inspired that, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. The best thing I can think of, which is not a conscious inspiration, but more of an after the fact, is Harley Quinn, using that persona to, change her identity. And like her relationship with the Joker being like everything that matters to her. But yeah, I now I'm at a point where it's like he's a mother. He has this very, maternal vibe. And that's like a very important part of him. But at the same time, he's like still an underboss. He's still a whumper. He kills people. Like, it's very interesting to see where his character has come. I feel like it's definitely, it started off as like this nice crystal clear diamond. And then I chipped away at it a bit. I made it a little uneven, you know, and then it was rehoned again into like something else, you know. So I'm really happy with how far he's come. I feel like it has somewhat affected like how much wump I do with him, because like he's still a wumpy, don't get me wrong, but his wump is now more so that like domestic abuse kind of storyline.
Yeah.
Whereas originally, excuse me, there was way more focus on the cult aspect, which I do want to get back to because I love cults. Not in real life, fictional cults. Although you know they're fascinating to study, but yeah. So to shorten the tangent, Darkfire is definitely one of his inspirations. I'm sorry, I'm hot. we can't have the fan
we've
on.
been new.
Yeah. Well, we all knew that. But we can't have the fan on because it's too loud, so I overheat very easily, and now I'm getting very sweaty.
Well, I will say I finished my list, so if you want to start wrapping up.
Yeah, takeaway being, we consume a lot of fucked up media. Like,
and things you wouldn't necessarily think would inspire you can subconsciously influence your stuff.
oh my god, let's talk about that, right? I have constantly found, and this is why I love it so much when people send me ideas, suggestions, you know, like reference, whatever, just people sharing their creativity with me. I find inspiration in some of the most unexpected things that people share, and also like unexpected places. Like literally the fact that recent inspiration. JJ made an adopt with an emoji that I sent in, the emoji being a blue dress. That has spurred on an entire AU. Granted, combined with other inspirations, but like still, they're just the smallest thing can inspire me to just create an entire story. Like even just with what's one thing I can think of? Well, like
the Dragon Horde AO.
Yeah, well, the Dragon Horde AU, yeah, that was like a whole ass prompt someone sent in. It's like, oh my god, I fucking love this. Another one I can think of is oh my god, I just had it. My brain's being fried.
Giant dots.
What?
Giant dots.
Giant gods?
I mean, what was the inspiration for that?
Great question, actually. What was the inspiration for that?
And there we go, our example for minimal inspiration.
No, I think that one, I had asked people, I'm like, should I draw like a specific AU or should I just go based on vibes? And people were like, just do something based on vibes. And I'm like, okay. And yeah, that one was literally just, I had this image in my head of Dirk walking down this very, you know, ornate hallway with like the gold and everything, just wearing this very ceremonial outfit. Oh, I know what inspired that. It was a artwork from the name is escaping me, but the person who does Countdown to Countdown. One of my favorite artists, actually. I knew this artist a long time ago. Started following their work, and the art was like this. Their main character who was sitting on this throne, and there were all these people in masks that were like dressing him up for like this ceremony. And I reblogged it and I commented, "Ooh, this is giving me like ceremonial ritual wump vibes." And if something gives me vibes, it's almost guaranteed to spur an AU. I'm say it right now. You drop a coin in the pot, it's gonna become a dollar bill. That makes no sense, but
like, no, I get it.
Yeah. So yeah, agree with JJ. You know, you never know what's gonna inspire you. And a lot of stuff, you know, from your childhood is very formative, whether you like it or not. I feel like my brain's melting. I'm overheating.
Well, then I'll leave it off with in the comments or under this post if you want. Tell us some of you guys' inspirations from, like, for media that inspires you guys with your writing, art, what have you. Like, I'd genuinely be fascinated to know.
Me too. And if there's any that I recognize, I'll comment on it in the next episode.
Then with that, I say we can sign off.
I'm gonna go take my shirt off. Jump in a fucking ice bath. Alright. Thank you guys for listening. Remember, if you made it to whatever fucking point it was, make sure you comment. Read School for Good and Evil. Have a good night or day, and peace.